I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hello and welcome to the new year. Holy cow, I cannot believe it's 2025.
Right?
We're about to unleash some, let's try that again. We're about to unleash some useful shit for the ambitious listeners of Unleashed AF. That's all new, so I have to read all that. Today we're diving in to 2025, try to cut through all the noise because there's a lot of noise out there. I mean, 2025 started out with a bang, an absolute bang. We're going to talk about stopping the crazy by designing your own personal algorithm, healing your nervous system through grounding, and strengthening your resolve. I'm Deidre Beecham, visibility catalyst and recovering nice girl. I escaped a religious cult, came out of the closet, and left a soul-sucking 20-year marriage. Over 27 months, I shattered my nice girl training, claimed my power voice, and built a life on my terms. And now I work with soulful women to do the same in a fraction of the time. Jenny, who are you?
I am Jenny Badig, hypno coach and human factors engineer. I help reprogram your inner mind so that you can unlock your subconscious superpowers to be used for good, of course. And welcome to Unleashed AF, the podcast where we help you own your greatness and unleash your authentic self. Enjoying our shows? Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all those social media verbs. And of course, drop your thoughts, questions, or suggestions in the chat or comments wherever you're watching. Or you can also go to the WWJDD page on our website, unleashedafpodcast.com. That's WWJDD, which stands for What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? We do this podcast for you, and we love hearing from you.
Yeah, in last week's episode, which is the last of the year, we just did a wrap up of, excuse me, we did a wrap up of the year, kind of what our favorite episodes were and what we were proud of. And we are proud of the evolution of this podcast, and we hope that you continue to join us. And let's see, we wanted to wrap up because we always like to take a look back at our last episode. And since our last episode was a wrap up, we thought it'd be interesting to look at bingo cards. And what I mean by that is there were so many times during the year in 2024, because it was just a very different year than all the years before. And there were so many times when somebody would come on and they'd say, oh my goodness, let me share this story with you. This was not on my bingo card. So, so we created two. One, which is kind of, I don't know if I'd call them normal, but just some of those things that you might see on a wrap up of 2024, the top 20, whatever things that happened. And so you have that over here, Jenny. You want to go ahead and pull that up?
So these were kind of maybe reasonable to expect, not guaranteed, but something that wasn't completely out of the ordinary. And they're even kind of in categories there. There's some things about professional sports. There's things about the Olympics. There's things, because it was an Olympic year. Of course, there's things about, politics, entertainment, even the weather.
Yeah. And we're going to put these up on the Facebook page as well. So we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them, but it did get a little crazy. And so while this was more of a reasonable recap, I'm going to put up the one that's kind of a crazy, Jenny.
Yeah. Then there was this batshit crazy bingo card that had all kind of stuff that is like, I never would have imagined that. I never would have expected that. So never would have saw that coming. Yeah. And it's amazing that there's even more that we could have put on here. We had to sort of narrow it down.
Pick and choose.
Which is scary.
Pick and choose.
Yeah.
I mean, we had assassinations. Well, I guess assassinations aren't necessarily we don't call them that. There's murder. We had a murder of a
Mhm.
CEO and several attempts since of other people. Wow, 3 months to go for the election, and Biden drops out. So anyway, there are tons on here. We think they're just kind of crazy, and we're going to put them up on our website. And
Yeah.
is
Well,
it?
on our Facebook page. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, on our Facebook page. Thank you. And what's really crazy is even the start of this year has been a little nutty. We had,
Mhm.
let's see, I mean, we have this polar vortex coming down,
Yeah.
and supposed to, by the end of next week, I believe it is, or maybe it's the week after, that we're supposed to have temperatures drop down into single digits. And down in Florida, I think you guys are supposed to be below freezing.
Yeah. It's got some Florida people scared. That's for sure. Because we're going to have temperatures like people up north are going, yeah, that's a normal winter. And down here, they're like, this is why I moved to Florida.
Yeah, it's there have been a lot of people talking about freezing pipes and etc. But there is some other crazy stuff. What is it? All the New Year stuff. There have been a whole a cyber truck blew up in front of Trump Plaza in Nevada. Um,
Oh, I hadn't even heard of that one.
oh yeah,
The thing there was a truck that ran into a crowd and ended up killing a bunch of people in New Orleans that
yep.
even
Yeah, it came
postponed
around.
the
It came
bowl game
around
that was supposed
about
to be there.
3 o'clock in the morning, and they're actually thinking that he had planted multiple bombs. The bombs didn't go off, and so that's why he came back and plowed through the crowd.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, and I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if I can remember all the ones that hit, but at some crazy time, like 5:36 in the evening on New Year's Eve, five the same damn time, 5 different buildings were struck by lightning. The Washington Capitol, the World Trade Center. I'm trying to think of all. I'm not going to be able to say all of them, but look it up. 5 different places, all struck by lightning at 5:36 in the evening. That's just crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, like what? And there was
It
something else
almost makes
happened.
me wonder if we're paying too close attention to things. It's maybe good if we don't have as much data because the more data you have, the more crazy there can be in it.
Yeah, which is actually what this episode is all about, because there is so much crazy. We're facing crazy in a way that we haven't faced crazy before.
Yeah.
Um, people killing each other for no apparent reason. People plowing into each other. There's anger. I mean, my gosh, the 70,000 men that were found sharing rape information. I mean, it's just nutty stuff. And it
Yeah.
can be really, really easy to get caught up in that, to feel intense fear, increased anxiety. Anxiety is the number one mental issue in America right now. I'm
Mm.
not surprised.
Yeah.
It's just insanity. And so we thought it's we there are people out there, and I know this, and if you're one of them, I'm so sorry, but they get all caught up in the anxiety of it all. And plus the cost of living is skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot going on. And so we thought, well, let's take time for this first episode of the season or of 2025 and talk about how do you cut through that noise? How do you regroup and have a positive outlook when things don't look positive?
Right.
And so let's go ahead and start with the first one. So one, you can stop the crazy. Stop the crazy by designing your own personal algorithm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about what that means. But before we even get there, we've talked about this before, Jenny, on
Mm-hmm.
another episode. I can't remember which one. It's probably been several, where we talked about whatever you focus on, that's what you see. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
you focus on gets magnified.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about with your personal algorithm, is making sure that you're adjusting what you're seeing what you're thinking about and where you are going so that you
And
don't get all caught up in the things that you don't want to be focusing on.
right. Right. Limiting your exposure, basically, or being more intentional about what you're exposing yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a good book that helps reiterate the fact that this is a real thing. Pam Grout is the author, and the book is called E Squared. She also has a book called E Cubed. Both those books give you some real life, she kind of has them almost like lab experiments to demonstrate that what you focus on, you get more of. So it's easy to kind of look at it just from like an everyday perspective and say, oh, that person's so in the clouds. They don't pay attention to world news. I don't want to be uninformed, whatever. But to know that when you're focusing on the stuff that is so negative, you're going to see more negative stuff. And that's, we've certainly talked about it in terms of our social media algorithms. So we know that that's one area that we can change if we start to watch different kinds of clips, reels, videos, things like that, comment on different kinds of posts. It can definitely change what ends up continuing to show up in our feed. So that's one example of how to do it. Even deciding what you watch on TV, deciding what you
Yes.
go spend your time on personally. There's certainly a lot of different ways that you can make this happen in your life, changing your algorithm and changing what ends up showing up for you, the
Yeah.
people you hang around.
Yeah. And if you find that people around you are starting to scramble and get into a lower vibration, I mean, so because anger, fear, these are both anxiety. I mean, all of that is very, very low vibration. And the more you allow low vibrations into your body and surround yourself with low vibration, the more low vibrations keep coming in. It's a horribly vicious cycle that's very difficult to get out of unless you're aware of what's happening.
Right.
And you can help by like Jenny was saying, the types of things you're listening. Listen to positive podcasts. Listen to positive music. There's plenty of high vibrational music that is online. I do want to say, I just found out that you do want to be careful about this. I was using, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but this just happened. I was using particular sounds and music, MP3s, and also your hypnosis on I use a headband at night. It's a stereo headband, and I listen to these MP3s at night. And I changed it. I thought, well, I want to listen to some new ones. And I changed the music I was listening to. Still high vibrational music. It was advertised as high vibe. And I noticed that things weren't going as well for me. And I read that there are people that are under the guise of, hey, this is high vibrational music, putting subliminal messaging in there that is not high vibrational. So just be careful, be cautious, make sure that you're doing a little bit of research about where you're getting your MP3s from. YouTube is open to everybody, so just be careful where you're getting that. And Jenny and I had actually talked about this, and I'm going to revisit this year. We had talked about creating some music, some MP3s, where we're in a really good place so that we're not putting bad vibrations into the music, and making them very, very streamlined for specific needs for people. So,
Right.
But yeah, and also journaling, being creative. Oh my goodness, one of the, I know for myself, if I am not doing well, if I have anxiety, etc., one of the last things I want to do is be creative. Like it's stripped, because creativity is on a higher vibrational level, so it makes it really difficult to do that. But it's actually one of the best things to do. So when you're in that moment, do something creative. Try to get yourself outside and try to do something creative.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that works, I believe, and that it's a good kind of tactic to use, is because creativity is a form of expression. When we have stuff, it's almost like the thoughts in our minds, it's like a pinball that can get like stuck just bouncing around unless it gets an outlet, unless it's able to come out. And that's why either through singing or dancing or drawing or whatever it is, or just talking about it, honestly, to get it out so that it's not continuing to bounce around on just what we got stored inside, helps relieve some of the power of it. It reduces the influence over the rest of your thoughts. So yeah, there's just so many ways. And I have several friends who really like to use art to express their creativity. And sometimes there's no words involved. For me, there would probably be more something specific.
Music.
I would either write something or like I used to use parodies. You mentioned last week about how I like to write parodies.
Oh yeah, you're fantastic at that.
The way I even started doing those is because when I was working for a corporation, and I don't remember what the issue was, but everybody was frustrated with some decision that was made in the corporation. And it just reminded me of a song, like whatever was upset about kind of matched lyrics to a song. So I'm like, oh, I could fill it in with this. I could say this other stuff and that works, that rhymes. And people just loved it. I mean, it gave them an opportunity to laugh about something that otherwise they were frustrated about. And so for me, it has to be more specific and include words. For some people, they just need to paint or they just need to, free-form dance or whatever and get it out. So whatever, find what works for you. Try things out and see what works for you to help kind of shed or release the negativity or whatever. And I did find something I wanted to show real quick. That's a graphic. It's going to be probably a little hard to read because it might be a little small, but this shows based on frequency, which is related to sound and can also be related to light. So that's why you see the different colors there, the different types of, they're labeled as consciousness levels, but you can see that they're similar to the way we feel. So they can also be thought of as how we're feeling or just what our outlook is. And it literally shows how higher vibrations are things like love and peace and joy. And the lower vibrations are things like guilt and shame and fear and anger. So there really is some science to this, even though some people think of it as like woo woo or whatever. It's really, it's been shown to be a real thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting that, things that we used to call woo are now scientifically proven to be not so woo. I mean, there's actually a scientific basis for these things. And I know that the whole reason I started my 27-month experiment several years ago was because I was stuck down at the bottom. I was stuck in anxiety. I was stuck in frustration. I was stuck in hopelessness. I was stuck in scarcity. And that was really difficult. One of the things I did is I found community, and community was with you. It was just you and one other person, and we invited other people via Zoom, but having community around me that was making an effort, we were all going in the same direction. We were all trying to raise our vibrational level. We were all trying to raise our consciousness, and we were all trying to live a better life, a more hopeful, exciting life. And that was a huge part of my starting the 27-month experiment, was being a part of that community. And so I think it's important.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to share about that first one? We'll just go ahead onto the healing your nervous system part of that.
Yeah, let's go into that.
So another thing is definitely healing your nervous system. That's where I was back then, where everything triggered me. It seemed like it didn't matter what happened, it would trigger me. Something would happen. This was back when Trump was elected last time. And he was elected, and I was so...
And COVID was going on.
Oh, there was a lot.
It was,
there was a lot going on. Not as much as now, but there was a lot going on for that time period. And everything triggered me. It was very, very difficult. And I came across somebody who was talking about nervous system. And then in our group, we read The Science of Getting Rich, which turned out so much more about raising your vibrational level than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And being a master of what you allow into your brain and what you don't allow into your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And, basically mastering your mind. And so we wanted to list a few things. There are so many things. You can go into ChatGPT and you can get all sorts of things to heal your nervous system. But some of the ones that have worked for us, grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think of grounding as different. I used to say, oh, you're so grounded, or I'm so grounded. It's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about being grounded in your body, being grounded in community, being grounded in nature, which is a great way to get grounding. And I know you have used some great things for getting grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, and sometimes even just the act of, I'm privileged enough to be able to just drive over to the beach. It's not too far away. Having your feet in the sand, or even going down and putting your feet where the waters are washing up over your feet. It's just a feeling of being connected
yeah.
to something outside of you.
And
Something that's
it calms your whole
yeah,
body.
yeah. And even you can certainly take it even further and engage your subconscious in imagining that anything that you're done with, any kind of toxic energy of any sort, is, once you're connected and you're grounded, just like with electricity, that just drains down and goes into whatever you're grounding yourself on or in.
Yeah, and I've heard about this before, but I've actually tested it on myself. That if you are barefoot, right? Like I'm not close to the beach, but I have a backyard, and I've gone out with my shoes on, and I've gone out barefoot. Well, not right now; it's really cold,
Yeah.
but I have found that if I take my shoes off and I walk onto the grass, what I'll do is I'll walk out onto the grass and I'll face the sun. Wherever the sun is, I'll face the sun and stand and just listen. Listen and have the sun on my face, my feet on the ground. It always works more quickly if I don't have shoes on.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I have shoes on that have a natural substance, like if I have a leather base, which most shoes aren't now. Most shoes have
Mm-hmm.
some sort of man-made product between you, keeping you off the ground,
Right.
and making it more difficult for you to have that connection. So if you have leather-based shoes or cloth-based shoes, I mean, that works great. I can go out in my slippers and get pretty close to what I can get to with having my feet naked. And another thing that I've noticed, this is just kind of a off the side interesting thing, because I had in the past gone to meditations and where the person that's leading the meditation will say, imagine this light coming down from your head and then it's going down, down, down. And that never happens for me in reality. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I go outside and I'm standing with my feet on the ground facing the sun, the first thing that happens is it's just all red in my head. It's just all
Mm-hmm.
red. Like that's what I see is red. But then slowly or quickly, depending on what's on my feet, there's this light that comes up. I can see it in my head where this light comes up. And eventually my head is all I see is white light.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Deb Penner. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
know her, but Deb Penner, she was on our show, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I was talking to Deb Penner and she said, oh yeah, of course, because then you're grounding. And as you're grounded, that grounding comes up through your body. And I was like, oh, okay. So it made so much sense after she said that of course it would come up because that's where the grounding is coming from, is being
Mm-hmm.
actually physically attaching to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
stopping my mind and just paying attention to the silence of the moment, which when you
Yeah.
really think about it, doesn't become silence when you slow down. You start hearing the birds and the wind. And anyway,
Mm-hmm.
it's a wonderfully peaceful moment.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point, in that there are so many different options that we can share with people about how you can get grounded. And almost like a fingerprint is unique for everyone, what works for you could be different than what works for someone else.
Oh my
So
gosh,
you
yes.
just have to find what works for you. Try different things. Don't give up just because the first couple of things you tried didn't seem to work for you. There is a way, I feel, for everyone to get to a point of feeling grounded or connected. Even if you don't
Mhm.
fully grasp the concept of being grounded, if that's a little kind of vague for you, just the idea of being connected to something that's outside of you, something that's sturdy, something that's not going anywhere. That's why the earth is an easy thing to ground to. Or,
Mhm.
people call or use the term tree huggers, and kind of jokingly like, oh, you're trying to save the trees. But I know several other hypnotherapists that go out and hug a tree just to help ground themselves after a tough session with a client or something like
Yeah.
that, where they're,
And if
hearing
you're
rough stuff.
yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're going, "Oh, that's a little crazy," try it. Try it. Give it a chance because it
Hmm.
really can make a significant difference in your life.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's very healing. Again, we're going to bring up community again. Community is so beneficial. Like I was saying, being in the group with you, Jenny,
Hmm.
being in community that are all striving for the same thing, it's it's healing, and it can heal your nervous system, especially as well, when they say a rising tide raises all ships. Well, that's in community too. Now it could
Hmm.
also sink. Water can sink you too. So
It's
you want to
true.
make sure you're in a community where you're having the same type of movement forward. Which is one of the
Hmm.
reasons we're starting our group, Unleashed AF. We're starting a group, don't have a specific date yet, and I'll have a link in our Facebook group. Uh, let's see, I'll have it there tonight. We'll have a link there so that you can get information about when that is getting started. We'll give you more information about the community. Meditation, which we just mentioned a moment ago. Meditation is a great way
Yeah.
um, to ground you. And
Yeah.
there's so
So,
Mhm.
well, even if you're in a place where it's hard for you to get to something like the beach, or if you don't have a backyard with grass that you can put your feet in, your bare feet, um, it doesn't have to be literally putting your feet in the earth or the skin to the earth. You can get there through meditation as well. And just like I was showing that little sheet with the different frequencies and what types of energy or vibe that brings to you, even if the meditation is just using some relaxing music that allows you to just let things empty out. You can do almost everything you can do physically, like going to, the gym, or not the gym, going to the beach or going outside to the grass, and feeling like things are getting kind of pulled out of you, like the energy's getting released. You can use that with imagery and in meditation. You can just feel that coming out of you, or the music can help draw it out of you, because there's frequency and energy in just about everything that we do. So yeah, meditation is a great way to do it. I know a lot of people feel like they struggle with meditation, but you don't have to think of it as completely clearing your mind, because that's nearly impossible for a lot of us.
Yeah. If you're neurodivergent at all, you're not going to be able to just sit down and clear your mind. And I
Right.
used to think that that's what it was all about. I pictured, the gurus sitting there with their fingers and they're, cross-legged, and empty your mind and just be. And it wasn't until I can't remember what happened. I was talking to somebody and they're like, no, you can, anything that's meditative. I mean, it can be like I have a jacket right now that I'm putting a whole bunch of patchwork on. Just sitting there and doing the patchwork on that,
Hmm.
it's very calming, it's very relaxing. I know people that do glass work. It could be a hobby where you don't have to think about it. It's
Hmm.
just you're just doing something rotely, and then boom, look, you're in a meditative state. That's when things can come to you, and where you can connect with things outside of yourself, because the part of your brain that wants to always be thinking and going is sidelined with whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
doing on the side. And I
Yeah.
love that. So it doesn't have to be a meditation, it could be meditative.
Right. Yeah, that's a good distinction. And this is a little bit of a side track, but
Mhm.
we were watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction
Mm.
ceremonies the other night, and it just
We watched
occurred
that
to
too.
me watching Keith. Oh shoot, what is his last name? Keith Urban,
Mm.
when he was playing with Peter Frampton. And I swear to God, there's been several times I've seen Keith Urban play guitar where it's not his own song. He's just doing the guitar with somebody else. He gets into a meditative state when he's playing guitar. And you wouldn't think, I mean, he was playing like a rock song. So you wouldn't think of that typically as being meditative because it's not like,
Right.
oh. But he is not, when you think about how quickly he's playing, he's not consciously thinking about every different movement his fingers have got to make.
Mm-mm.
So he's completely like in trance mode. He's in a whole different state of mind. And I thought, wow, that's not everybody necessarily who has like a musical gift or whatever can get there. But I've really seen that with him a few times. I'm like, boy, he just like flips a switch and he's in a whole different world. And so sometimes that is what it is for people. It can be doing something that you're really good at or that you just love so much that you don't have to think about it. It just happens,
And it could be something as simple as driving.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as driving.
Yeah.
And then we also have down here hypnosis. I mean, you're a hypnosis because you've made hypnosis tapes for me before. Tapes,
I know.
MP3s.
Every time you say it, I'm like, if I had a cassette player, I could open it up to a whole different generation of people.
But it's been amazing having a hypnosis tape, and I know that you also sell those. So check out Jenny's website. Which one would they go to for that?
That would be the hypnotherapybyjenny.com would probably be the best way to get that going, because there is an option on there to just get your own custom hypnotic recording, regardless of where you are. The vast majority of clients that I see in person, that's what I do, honestly, with just about every client that I see. That's the first thing I do with them is create a custom recording for them, because that gets the ball rolling to get things changing their algorithm, and getting them headed in the right direction. But even if someone can't come in person or isn't able to do a Zoom call, honestly, I was just returning a call from somebody earlier today that is talking about their daughter having problems with tumbling, and they didn't mention how old she was, but sometimes there's younger kids that are meeting some kind of resistance, and the parents are like at wit's end, not sure what to do to help them. They weren't afraid of this yesterday. Now all of a sudden they're afraid of it, won't do it. What can we do? The recording is the thing that I can do for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other protocols might be a little more challenging, but I mean, anybody can listen to a hypnotic recording and most people will get benefit from it. So
awesome.
It's just easy to do.
And while there are many, many, many things you can do to heal your nervous system, we did want to add one more, which is a validation list. Mm-hmm. And this is simply a piece of paper where you write down validations for yourself. What types of things have you overcome? And you don't put it in the negative, like, oh, this was this horrible thing I did. It's like, no, I accomplished this. I was able to go from here to here, and here's where I am because of that. This is what I've accomplished. And it doesn't have to be business. It could be personal. It could be personal things in your life. It can be business. If you do have a business, it could be it could be testimonials that you also add in there. And what I love about this, because most of us have been taught through either nice girl training or what is that called? Polite society, the rules of polite society. We have been taught to not think great things about ourselves, or to always be looking at how we need to improve and never thinking these positive things about ourselves. And so a validation list is something that you can keep at your desk, in your purse, in your back pocket. It's something you can keep and pull out, if you're having an especially bad day or you feel yourself slipping or you're being triggered, and pull that out and read about yourself and read about how awesome you are. Because I guarantee you, you can come up with an awesome list.
Yeah.
Especially if you're listening to this podcast, because you're awesome people. So, right?
Well, sometimes you might need to have someone else help you. If you're
Yeah.
struggling to come up with your own awesome list, talk to somebody who knows you,
Mhm.
because they can probably tell you about things that you have accomplished that you don't see as an accomplishment at first.
Yeah, that's a
There have
really good
been
point.
several times I remember such a huge shift for people when I was working with clients, and just based on what they told me about what they've gone through in their lives, when I get them into hypnosis and they're struggling to find anything positive or how they could possibly overcome something, I'm like, look at all the stuff that you've overcome. Like, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that.
we easily dismiss ourselves.
Yeah.
And so a validation list is a great way to help that. And again, if you're in community, you can do that. Ask other people. Sometimes somebody that you've just met will tell you something that you had no idea you
Hmm.
even do, and how you affect their lives, even with just your presence. So that is great. And I know that you have created the new year, and not that this is new, but you have this epic envisioning that you do for people.
That's right.
And I just went through half of it. It's not meant to be going through half at a time. You're supposed to do the whole thing at a time. But it's fantastic. And I'll go ahead and leave it to you to go ahead and talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So I do have a little video
Oh
that
yeah,
I'll
well,
show
go
here
ahead
in a
and play
second.
it. Go ahead and play the video. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just did another live version of it this morning and had a bunch of people on. Went great. So let me just kind of play this off and talk about it on the other end.
Awesome.
Are you tired of chasing dreams that never seem to materialize? Have you tried things like vision boards or just writing your goals on Post-it notes and leaving them around the house, but still not getting what you really want? It's time to engage your subconscious superpowers and take control of your future. An epic envisioning workshop will help you gain clarity on your goals, develop actionable steps to achieve them, and overcome obstacles and stay motivated. Join us and discover the power of intentional living. Transform your vision and dreams into reality. Go to hypnohuddle.com to see which workshop works best for you and register today. Take the first step toward one of the best investments you'll ever make. You deserve this.
Wow, that was like my sexy voice. I didn't
It
realize I was
was.
not trying to sell that to.
Every time I hear it, I'm like, wow, that's kind of very calm and soothing. And anyway, so you can go to hypnohuddle.com. That's Jenny's website, and sign up for your epic envisioning journey.
That's right. Yeah, and there are still several of those scheduled over the next month or so. There will be more added later as well, but it's also something that I can do sort of on demand. If there's a group or team, especially that's trying to accomplish something together or has a similar mindset or goal, then I can do one custom for them. Like, I can do it kind of as requested as well. So it's
Awesome.
exciting.
So let's go on to the third that we were talking about, is really about strengthening your resolve.
Mhm.
Where did I put that? Yeah, strengthening your resolve. And one of the ways that you can do that is by making a decision and taking action. Make sure that when you are saying something to yourself, that you're following through with it, that you're not lying to yourself. And one of the things that I have is an acronym called BOLD, which is BOLD. And so if you have something that you want to accomplish, there's a goal that you're going after. This is very specifically about how to define that goal for yourself. Because if you have tiny little goals, it can be demoralizing after a while because you're just going after these little goals. There's nothing exciting about that. And Jenny and I have talked about this before, that if you use the old way of creating a goal, which is a SMART goal, SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. That if you do that and you take a SMART goal and compare it to something that somebody has accomplished that's great, like Roger Bannister beating the 4-minute mile, Walt Disney creating Disneyland, going to
Little things like that.
Yeah, just little things. But if you have something big you want to accomplish, and it could be a book, not everybody writes a book. And if it's a book and it's a challenge, you want to make sure that it follows this acronym. And so B stands for big, bodacious, and ballsy, right? So it needs to be something that is just, it lights you up because it's big. It's your thing. It's your thing that you want to accomplish. And it's big enough that you can get excited about it. It might even be big enough that it could be called ballsy so that somebody goes, well, I don't know about that, right? But you're excited about it. So it doesn't matter what they say, which is the next part, which is the O, which is own it, right? You need to own this thing that you want to do. You need to own it so hard that it doesn't matter what anybody else says, that, they can say, well, that's crazy or whatever. And you're going, no, this is my thing and I'm going to do it. And it's something that you keep top of mind every day. L stands for love, right? So you want to love this thing, but you also want to love yourself. And I don't mean like the love, like, oh, Deidre, you're so awesome. Oh, it's just so great. I mean, that's nice, but it's not going to get you where you want to go. It also has to be the kind of love that, I love myself enough. I love myself so much that it doesn't matter what you say about whether I can accomplish this or not. I know I love myself. Or when you wake up and you go, I don't really feel like doing that today. And you go, no, I love myself, and I'm going to kick myself in the ass today, and I'm going to make sure I get this done. And then D stands for deliberate decisions, which is how we started this. Make a decision and take action. Mm-hmm. But a deliberate decision, and Jenny and I were talking about this in the pre-game, the pre-war room. We talked about getting the podcast together. Is that the difference between a deliberate decision and a decision? Is that a decision could be something where you just like, oh, I'm going to exercise tomorrow. And then you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you're like, okay, let's see, what should I exercise? And where's my clothes? And if it wasn't deliberate, right? Because a deliberate decision would be like, okay, I'm going to work out tomorrow. How am I going to do it? How long am I going to do it? What am I going to wear? And you have all that stuff set up so that when you wake up in the morning, if that's when you're going to do it, you're going to get it done because it's deliberate. You've made a deliberate decision. I know what I'm going to do. And that way you're bringing the decision up into the conscious level, rather than it just sitting there in the subconscious and you're not actively thinking about it. And a great example, I think it's a great example, but a great example of this is like, if you make a decision of, and it's kind of silly, but if you make a decision like, oh my gosh, I need to go in the other room and get a marker. And you walk into the other room, you go through the door and you go, what did I come in here for?
Who hasn't had that happen?
Right. And you made a decision, but it wasn't deliberate. And what I mean by that is if you know yourself and you know that you forget things going from one room to the next, in order to make a deliberate decision about the marker, you go, okay, I need to get a marker. Okay, I'm going to the bedroom and I need a marker. Marker. I'm coming in here for the marker. I'm going to get a marker. I need to get a marker. So, and then nothing gets in your way because you're like, that is what I'm doing. This is a deliberate decision. I need to go get a marker. And you don't forget. You go in the other room, you get the marker, and you go back.
Yep.
And then, so that's the BOLD acronym, making a decision and taking action. And the more you take action on the thing that you want to do, the stronger and more powerful you're going to feel. And the more those things about yourself get into your subconscious and drive your actions. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing I would tag on to that is the more senses you can get involved, help it be more deliberate and help it get stronger. And I came up with a little thing in my parody brain, since it likes to go there. There's that, who does that song? There's the work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger.
What's the thing you have? Because you
so the thing I came up with was write it, see it, say it, hear it.
Yeah.
So if
All the
you
different
write
ways you
something
can bring that
down,
in. Mhm.
like you may not write down, I'm going to the other room to get a marker. Might not have to go through that whole process just
No.
to go get a marker. But if it's something like, I'm going to work out tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do in my workout, you can write it all out. The action of writing it is one physical activity. That's one sense that you're using.
Yeah. Seeing
You
it.
see it as
Mhm.
you're writing it. And then if you read it to yourself, you're saying it. So you're engaging speech. And then as you say it,
And of
unless
course,
there's
you're
some
hearing
kind
it.
of hearing issue, you're hearing it. And so that just engages so much more of our mind and gives us more touch points to make sure it sticks.
Mhm. Yeah, and then also, establishing accountability for yourself.
Yep.
And, you can do that with a partner.
Mhm.
You can have an accountability partner. You can do it with, I like to use Trello, which is a software, and it's on my phone. It's also on the online on my computer, my desktop.
Write
But
it, see
in
it, say it, hear it.
so, but Trello is a great way to keep accountability as well. And you could also do the same thing in community. I know community has been in each one of our things, but it's so amazing how a good community can make a difference in your life,
Mhm.
just by being surrounded by people who are going and taking that same action.
Yeah. And
Um,
although sometimes we may think the default community or support mechanism should be something like family, it doesn't always make sense for it to be family. It's okay if you find community in other ways. Um,
Sometimes family is the worst to be your
right,
accountability partner because they have
right.
their own issues that they're dealing with.
Or they're just going a different direction. I mean, there are some families I think that stay very tight and close knit and have a very similar goal. That's fine. But for a huge number of people, the family you get born into is not necessarily the one that you're meant to do your whole life journey with. You're going to expand and do things that are going to be in different directions than what the rest of your family is interested in. And that's completely fine too.
Well, and sometimes the people that are closest to you, they can't see what you are seeing, and instead they're seeing you as you were several years ago.
Hmm.
Or they're seeing you and they're going, wow, I want to protect this person, all subconsciously. I want to protect this person. And so they'll say to you, no, you can't do that, or that's too hard,
Hmm.
or what if you fail? All of
Yeah.
those things. And not necessarily because they're trying to hurt you, but because they want to protect you. And it just doesn't come out that way. And
Right.
so I agree. It's not necessarily family where you need to turn to. Um, so is there anything else you wanted to share about that, Jenny?
Well, I think that's just another aspect of that group that we're planning to create as well, is to kind of support each other, become that. Not that you have to have something that you're shooting for every single second that we can keep you accountable to, but certainly it's an opportunity within that group to have them help to keep you accountable or help push you along, help support you, uplift you, remind you of the things that you've overcome. All those kinds of things are part of what we hope to create with that group as well.
Hmm. Awesome. Um, and yeah, so next week, I guess that's the end. So we have, let's go recap that really quick. So, in order to not let the crazy kind of take over, because I'm telling you, it's like, I said the first time when Trump got elected the first time, I said, oh my gosh, it's like living in the Twilight Zone. Like we are living in a Twilight Zone. How did this happen? And then, of course, we had Biden, and then some crazy things started happening in 2024. It's like living in a completely alternate universe. Life is not the
Mhm.
same as it ever has been. And 2025 is already getting crazy. So, the whole impetus behind this particular show was remembering what it was like when we were all feeling so positive about the future. And then things happened around us on the outside and we started losing that vision. So we have the power to make change, not only in the world, but for ourselves. And it has to happen for ourselves first. And so one of the ways we can do that is not get carried away by the crazy and instead focus on these things. Stop the crazy by designing your personal algorithm, healing your nervous system through grounding, strengthening your resolve. And in each one of those, community is incredibly important. And we're not saying you have to join ours. We're saying it is an option to join ours.
Mhm.
Just look
Yeah.
for something that works for you.
Yeah. And I think we also mentioned the idea of the crazy and then changing your personal algorithm is sort of like the Matrix blue pill, red pill, right?
Yes. Yes. Because if you're not staying on top of it, if you're not focused on that, you're plugged into whatever the matrix wants you to be doing, right? You're plugged into, or what I call an NPC, a non-playable character,
Mhm.
because you're just doing the routine. Here's the routine. It's like I was watching a show with my wife last night, and one of the things they said was, it's the same, or what was it, same shit, different day.
Yeah.
But if you are in control, and instead of being ping-ponged around by the paddles of life, getting ping-ponged around by the paddles of life, then you can take control and you can be one of the paddles, right? Because you're making life happen for you rather than life happening to you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And honestly, I think that idea of like what you brought up with the non-playable character, that's really the underlying impetus of this whole podcast is we want to help elevate people that might feel like they've been an NPC to being a main character in their life. The different things that might keep them in that mode of they're just, running along, not anything they can do on their own to change their circumstance. Throw that out the window. No, you can change your circumstance. You can become a main character in your life and change the direction of it. That's what we're about.
Absolutely. Thank you. So next week, we're going to talk about finding your power voice and how to speak without apologizing, without apology. And I'm super excited about that. I know Jenny and I have both really come out to trusting in our power voice and utilizing it. And we want to share what we've learned along the way with you.
And can I just tie that into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cher was the first person that was honored and inducted in the Hall of Fame in that most recent induction ceremony. Talk about power voice.
Oh,
not only through her singing, but the whole like acceptance speech kind of thing that she did. She was talking about how, her mom was her support and kept telling her that she was special. And, you may not be the smartest person in the room, or you may not be the thinnest or the wisest or whatever, but you're special. And she held on to that. And so she's never felt like there was something that she couldn't do or that wasn't possible for her. So even though we may not all have a mom like that that said that, or it didn't sink in the same way when we've heard that before, gosh, the stuff that she's had a number one hit in 7 consecutive decades. Who the F?
It's crazy.
Like, that's crazy.
Crazy.
And then also Dionne
amazing.
Warwick was another one that was inducted. She's been around longer than Cher. She's a little older than Cher even. I did have to look up how old Cher was because you can't tell by looking at her. No. She's like 78. Amazing. Wow. Dionne Warwick, I think, was 84. And she was up there, singing her own songs too. I'm like, go, woman, go. So there's just so much that you can do when you really allow yourself to tap into that power voice. So I'm excited for next week for us to talk about that. Not that it has to be about singing, but what came up since we just watched that induction ceremony. Amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, share. If you have a topic, question, or if you want to be a guest, please visit our website at unleashedafpodcast.com and visit WWJDD. What would Jenny and Deidre do? We'd love to hear from you.
That's right.
So, and let's see. You are going to get that, and I'm going to go up here. Organization. All right. So until next week, have an unleashed day each and every day. Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us